Hello, and welcome to Digital Citizen News. I'm Matthew Henshaw. Recently, Digital Citizen welcomed two former congressmen, Robert Weigand of Rhode Island and Gil Gutnicht of Minnesota. The two were welcomed as a part of Sacred Heart's Congress to Campus program. In addition to meeting with various political science and criminal justice courses, the two men also paid a visit to Digital Citizen News, where we had the privilege of welcoming them into our studio and were fortunate enough to be able to ask them questions pertaining to the role that social media has with politics. Here they are. Joining us, Robert Weigand was a member of the United States House of Representatives from 1997 until 2001. A Democrat from Rhode Island, he attended the University of Rhode Island, receiving a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater, a Bachelor of Science in Civil and Environmental Engineering in 76, and a Master of Arts in Political Science in 2009, and a Master of Public Administration in 2010, all from the University of Rhode Island. Please give a round of applause for our former Representative Weigand.
Thank you. Thank you.
And also joining us today is Gilbert Gutnicht, Jr., an American politician, a Republican member of the United States House of Representatives, first elected in '94 to represent Minnesota's first congressional district, one of 8 of congressional districts in Minnesota. Please welcome, with a round of applause, former Representative Gutnicht.
How has the media's coverage of the political scene evolved from the time you were in the House of Representatives to today?
Well, I think the intensity has changed so much. When I first ran for the state legislature, for example, I think in the city of Rochester we had 3 radio stations, we had 1 television station, we had 1 newspaper. Today, you've seen just an explosion. I think we have like 7 or 8 radio stations now. We have 2 television stations. We still have 1 newspaper, but barely. And you've seen this explosion in terms of social media and everything that people can do with their computers. And so, in some respects, it makes it harder for people in public service to communicate with people because there's so many different channels and venues from which people get information today.
We've also seen over the last 11 years the emergence of social media in a dramatic way. It really impacts the way any member of Congress, no matter who you are, how you operate. Previously, we would have normally a public relations or communications person in the office. Now you have not only a person, but you have a team of people responding to social media inquiries and responses to sometimes invalid and inappropriate kind of questioning, but you must do that. It's a burden that we all have as part of our job as a member of Congress in the public scene. So it's changed dramatically, and particularly over the last 11 years. Social media has had a dramatic change, caused a dramatic change in the way members of Congress, governors, lieutenant governors, and other people operate.
So either of you guys could answer this question. A lot of people agree that we're in the worst political age in history, and they're not talking about the politician. It seems both sides, the liberal and conservative, like to throw fits, point fingers, criticize, etc. What do you think needs to change to make current time we live in more tolerant of different beliefs?
Well, I take a slightly different view, although I agree with the general conclusion that these are pretty bitter political times. So we've had very bitter battles, partisan, over regions, over the North and the South, and over a lot of things over the years. And so I do think we're maybe at a low ebb, but I'm actually pretty optimistic about the future. One of the things, though, that disturbs me is not so much what happens in Congress and the halls of Congress, but in many respects, I think Congress is a reflection of our society.
Excellent. Let's take another question from one of our students.
I'm Emily. I'm a senior. I want to know what you feel the impact was of the Mueller summary and if you think that it should go public.
I definitely think it should go public. I think the summary, and I think that all Americans believe that Robert Mueller provided a report that was thorough, but they want to see it. And even the president has said the public should see it. Now, Attorney General Barr may not provide all of that because he may be restricted by rules and regulations with regard to the special counsel. But personally, I like to see it there. I want to see this chapter be over and concluded, and if there's something wrong, then definitely do something about it. But I think we need to move on with our lives, and the members of the House and the Senate need to do the same. Can you ask them a question?
Okay, here
Absolutely.
we go.
What is your definition of fake news?
In something that, like you said, with like the words that are speculated, like if or could, it's something that do we do we really know if that's true? Do we really know if that's completely proven? And like something that I saw is like fake news was like the whole like national emergency. Like, was it really a national emergency?
Right.
So that was an example that kind of popped into my head. But I just believe it's something that cannot necessarily be proven. It isn't necessarily facts being reported on.
That's all I have to say.
Well, thanks
Thank
again.
This
You
has
guys have
been
been
a
great.
class.
Thank you.
Members of the Media and Democracy class were impacted by Congressman Weygand and Gutnicht. One of them was junior Caroline Lisboa, who spoke about what she had learned from the two gentlemen and how she now has a new perspective about social media's role in society. Here she is.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I was intrigued by both representatives' opinions on the influence and impact of social media on politics, especially with regards to the younger generation. They both appeared to be against the use of social media platforms as a voice and means of expression. Representative Gutnicht even appeared to offer up a challenge of moving away from the usage of social media altogether. As an avid user of these social networks, I definitely witnessed firsthand the magnitude of their impact on my day-to-day interactions, tasks, and responsibilities. I can admit to spending a large chunk of time engaged in the often futile exercise of scrolling through news feeds, switching back and forth between apps to stay up to date with what my favorite celebrities, family, and friends are up to. I can agree with both representatives in their stance on how social media robs away from pushing the younger generation to make meaningful contributions to society, especially as it relates to the media itself and its ability to inform and influence. I do, however, think that a shift in the attitudes towards these platforms is the next step. As much as social media can be viewed as unnecessary due to the wasted time spent on it, at the end of the day, it does have the incredibly powerful ability to connect so many different people across communities, cultures, and nations. Once we begin to tap into the role we have as contributing members of society in creating positive change through the lens of mutual respect, careful consideration, and a desire to inform, we can then use social media to our benefit. For Digital Citizen News, I'm Caroline Lisboa.
Tough topics in 90 seconds. Here, some of our contributors will go over specific topics that are covered in the media today, and we'll analyze them more extensively in order to come to a better understanding. We start off with our very own Nicholas Kakaletris.
Hi, my name is Nicholas, and this is Tough Topics in 90 Seconds. When the news constantly bombards us with such addicting content, such as the R. Kelly interview, celebrities buying their kids' way into school, and a rather continuous stream of Donald Trump drama, everything else just seems to fade to black.
You're killing me, man!
Millennial news is much different than the news we see on TV. We have a rather bad habit of making memes out of the media in hopes of creating laughs out of serious matter. Now, some may say this is a defense mechanism, but nothing is ever taken seriously anymore. Due to our decline in compassion for others and the world around us, immense corruption and destruction has taken place. In a world full of fluff pieces, we don't know how to find relevant news anymore. We'd much rather hear about how Tristan cheated on Khloe, not once, but twice, and how she still manages to stay with him. We'd rather send tweets to Khloe telling her how much we support her, rather than discussing more important issues. We simply care more about the wrong things. Do we even place an importance on the world around us? Do we care that there are animals that have been on this planet for millions of years, but have declined drastically in population over the past 50 years, to borderline extinction? We are depleting this world's natural resources faster than ever, and we have no way of going back. Most people don't understand this crucial bit of information, that the mistakes we made in our past will most definitely affect our future, our children, our friends, and our family. The land in which we are standing on has been harmed, but has no way of retaliating. Did you know that within 5 years, almost 2 billion people will live in areas plagued by water scarcity? If everyone in the world lived the way people in the US do, it would take 5 Earths to provide enough natural resources for everybody. Millions of species will face extinction as a result of disappearing habitats to which we have demolished. And the Arctic region may be completely ice-free by the year 2040. The time we take laughing at memes can be better spent. Just an idea. I'm Nicholas, and this has been Tough Topics in 90 Seconds for Digital Citizen News.
The term hypernormalization is not something that we often hear on a daily basis, but it does play a significant role in the way that media is addressed today. Our very own Morgan Ford caught up with professor and photographer Richard Falco to find out more about this topic. So without further ado, here's Morgan Ford for Table Talk with Morgan.
Thanks, Matt. Welcome to Table Talk with Morgan. Today I have a very special guest in the studio from SHU's School of Communication, Professor Richard Falco. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Here we're going to talk about hypernormalization. It is a 2016 BBC documentary by filmmaker Adam Curtis. It argues that the governments, financiers, and technological utopians have since the 1970s given up on the complex, quote-unquote, real world and built a simpler, quote-unquote, fake world run by corporations and kept stable by politicians. Professor, the documentary Hypernormalization has made some waves, but its message is complex for most of our viewers. Is there a way that we can get this message out to the public so it can resonate with them better?
Well, I think the important thing we need to understand, there's been an evolution in terms of the impact of technology, in terms of how we get our information, how those sources are sought and used, and how individuals, be it corporations, politicians, people who are seeking to control the flow of information, make determinations using that technology to influence the society. This leads to another way in which information can be changed, manipulated, fake. And people feed back into that, continuing to use technology to expand those views and ideas to at a faster rate to a wider range of individuals.
So do you think that there should be a specific source where everyone can go to? As most people mention international news. In America, most people don't watch international news. Do you think that that's something that we have to incorporate in our daily lives in order to not be so separate?
I think media literacy has to be integrated within our educational systems. And I'm not saying from college, I'm saying way below that. Mm-hmm. So that people are starting to understand how I navigate this internet highway, this information highway, to figure out where they go to get information that gives them balanced, truthful, vetted content. Because it's all about the content. And how we get that content will determine how we think.
How do you think the media can better inform the public and pull back the cover that is the process of hypernormalization?
The media can't do it, because if I go to Fox News, they have their agenda. If I go to MSNBC, there's this. I have PBS, this. I have then people that don't even go there anymore. You know, I give the example all the time in my classes. When the internet began, the way you would find something is you would type in something related to your interest, right? And the way the spiders or search engines worked is they would read across your metadata and then direct the person who's looking to that. Well, in the beginning, the way they did it, you had like a guy by the name of David Duke, who's a white nationalist supremacist, who, Ku Klux Klan basically, was typing in invisible type, civil rights, Martin Luther King. So when the search engines were going over it, the kid who was doing his homework on Martin Luther King was being taken to his site, a white supremacist site. Now, the engines are different, and they don't work like that anymore. But people have seen how to use it. Facebook is another thing. Look at how things become, viral in seconds on something that may not be vetted. This is the issue. I think our technology, as wonderful it is also very dangerous in many ways. And we have to be able to use that media literacy to figure out how to navigate this.
Thank you, Professor Falco, for coming in and talking to us about hypernormalization.
It's been a pleasure.
This has been Table Talk with Morgan. Back to you, Matt.
We'll now proceed with another Tough Topics in 90 seconds. And this time, we'll turn it over to Digital Citizen's Robbie Paper.
When someone says artificial intelligence, what comes to mind is an anthology series exploring a twisted, high-tech world where humanity's greatest innovations and darkest instincts collide. Well, that's exactly what the Netflix series Black Mirror is about. It gives us a vision of the future of how human-made technology can go wrong. One episode in particular, Nosedive, shows how artificial intelligence can relay privacy and opportunity. In this episode, social scores affect your ability to succeed in society. Everyone is ranked by their peers in their daily interactions. And once your score goes down, it is nearly impossible to bring it and your future back up. Shortly after this episode, the Vice President of China announced how they want social ranking for every human. China wants this for their people so nobody can go against the government rules, and if they do, they'll be punished. These movies are a prime example of how artificial intelligence can become without careful guidance. People have a tendency of having misconceptions about technology. Can AI attain self-awareness or start turning against humans? Anything is possible when talking about AI. In order for us to program AI properly, we need to train developers, designers, and engineers on how to develop AI responsibly. For Digital Citizen News, this is Robbie Paper.
Senior Victoria Mescal has been the editor-in-chief of the Spectrum newspaper at Sacred Heart for the past year. She's dedicated to journalism and was deeply affected by Gutnicht and Wiggins' speech. She talks about her role in journalism and how politics play into that. Here she is.
When my residential life staff member, Pat Faria, told me that he was organizing a visit by 2 former Congress members to come to campus, I didn't really expect to be blown away. I expected 2 dedicated patriots to talk to us about their jobs and about what they did in their public service days, but I didn't expect to be as inspired as I am right now. In one of my favorite episodes of the political drama The West Wing, President Bartlett says to Deputy Chief of Staff Joshua Lyman, "You know the difference between you and me? I want to be the guy. You want to be the guy counts on." In my professional life and in my personal life, I want to be the guy counts on. I feel called to public service. I just don't know yet in what capacity. Today I heard our former representatives tell my classmates and I that running for office is great and important, but also that there are many other ways to serve. And this closing sentiment by Representative Weygand really restored my faith in my future. As I graduate in 45 days, I'm facing a great unknown, and it was refreshing to hear members of the U.S. government talk about how civility matters in everyday life, in media, and in the government. Opinions matter. Representative Weygand reminded us to have them, and to fight fervently for what you believe in. But never lose your respect for others. Representative Gutnicht highlighted the importance of debate. He said to have discourse, have discussions, but never question a person's motives, question their reasonings, and work together to find solutions to problems. As Aaron Sorkin says, never forget that you are a citizen of this world. And today, as I watched our inaugural production of Digital Citizen, I was reminded of that. For Digital Citizen News, I'm Victoria.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. We hope you all enjoyed it, and thanks for tuning in. For Digital Citizen News, I'm Matthew Henshaw.